Hi everyone, it's Teresa from All Bright of This here again. This is the second of the 4 videos that I'm going to be doing looking at different ways to attach your granny squares. So for those of you that weren't able to make the workshop that we had last week, here's just a little taster to get you started with the different techniques that we did so that you can turn all those granny squares you've been making throughout the years into something wonderful and stop them just sitting in the basket in the corner. Enjoy. So for this second technique, we're going to do something called a zigzag braid, and it is quite literally, as the name suggests, a zigzag that's going to connect our granny squares, and it's a really simple, easy thing to do. In this particular version here that I'm going to show you, we're going to connect our granny squares with 3 chains and a slip stitch. But you might like to try doing it with 2 chains and a double crochet and see how that looks. Just play around with it, experiment and see what you like best. But for now, I'm going to show you how to do it with 3 chains and a slip stitch. Okay, so once again, here's 2 I prepared earlier, my contrasting yarn and my size 4 crochet hook. So you can do this in the same colour yarn if you wanted to. Just gives you a nice lacy effect at the end. So like we did before with double crochets, we're going to put the wrong sides together. So right sides out, wrong sides facing each other. But this time I'm going to just join in one of my squares to start with. So I'm going to connect together there, and then I'm going to work a chain of 3. 1, 2, 3, and now I'm going to connect it to my other granny square with a slip stitch. Oops, I disappeared then for a minute, didn't I? We'll see that better on the next one. Okay, so I'm now going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and this time I'm going to do the slip stitch into the next space along on the granny square closest to me. So I'm going to slip stitch. Okay, so if we can see there, we've joined at the bottom, we've started to zig, now we need to zag. So chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and need to make sure we're not twisting our granny squares, and we're going to connect to the back granny square in the next space up with a slip stitch. And then we're going to do chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and connecting it to the one closest to me with a slip stitch. Chain 3, and a slip stitch into the one at the back. Chain 3, slip stitch into the front granny square, chain 3, slip stitch into the back granny square, chain 3. So try doing it with chain 2 and see what happens. You'll get a shorter zigzag. You might prefer the effect. And then a slip stitch into our corner, and you could try doing that as a double crochet. Then we're going to chain 3 and we're going to slip stitch into our corner opposite, and then if I put that down, there we go, just straighten that out. There we have, you can see our 2 granny squares joined together with a little zigzag braid. Very quick, very simple, but quite effective.